Something about this post really hit a nerve. It made me ask the question, what is real? What if I told you that I believe we are all one? That I am you and you are me? That we're all the same consciousness in different forms? If I walked into a psychiatrist's office, would that be enough to get me diagnosed with something? Would that make people label me as delusional? Probably. But what if I told you that the concept that we are all one can also be called non-duality? That it's a belief found in many religions, including Buddhism and Hinduism. There are over 1.5 billion people that observe these religions. Does that all of a sudden make it okay? And what if I said that Roman Catholics believe they consume the body and blood of Christ? Not a metaphor, mind you. During the Eucharistic offering, Catholics believe the bread and wine is turned into Jesus' literal body and blood. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But almost 1.4 billion people consider themselves Catholic and participate in that ceremony regularly. Maybe you're thinking, they don't actually believe that. They just say it. Then I'm sad for them, that they're faking it. And although I know that there are people who claim to be part of the religion but don't actually mean it, I've met a lot of them. I know there are those who do, and that they genuinely aim to live their lives in accordance with their religious beliefs. So, is reality determined by numbers? By how many people believe it? Is it real because it's accepted by a particular organization or group? Maybe you don't want to talk about religion and all that hokey stuff. Let's talk science then. There was once a guy that believed the Earth revolved around the sun, and this was considered wild back then because it challenged the idea that the Earth was the center of the universe. The Catholic Church ended up banning his book for over 2 centuries. Oh, that's ancient history, you say. What about astronomers believing there was a planet named Vulcan that was located between Mercury and the Sun? It was only in 1915 that Einstein disproved its existence. Before then, people really believed it existed. Is it real if it's said by an expert? By someone who has credentials? How about scientists and doctors telling people they didn't need to wear a mask to avoid getting an airborne disease? An airborne disease. Millions of people believed them. Then a few weeks later, when panic set in, we had this medical expert demonstrating how to wipe your groceries with Lysol. Again, COVID-19 is an airborne disease, and the risk of transmission through inanimate objects is low. So why is he doing this? At the start of the pandemic, physicians were prescribing hydroxychloroquine, an anti-malarial drug, despite inadequate proof that it would work. And as the pandemic progressed, they realized it wasn't effective and stopped prescribing that medication. In the meantime, they had millions of people believing that that was the appropriate way to treat the disease. What happens when the experts themselves don't know what they're talking about? What happens when they're just as flawed and fallible as everyone else? Enough about the pandemic. Let's just talk about human experiences. What's it like to fall in love? Can other people tell you that it's happened? Is there a measure or an outside indicator for it? How do you know you're in love when no one else can tell you about it? How about falling out of love? That sinking feeling when you look into your partner's eyes and see no affection there. Is it real? Is the relationship over? How would I know if no one else tells me? And then there's gaslighting. It's an overly used term these days, but imagine yourself being abused by your parents and your siblings at home. Day in and day out, they mistreat you. But no one else sees. Even now, years later, they tell you it never happened, that you imagined it all. Are you crazy then? If no one else witnessed it, can it be real? The truth is that we experience many, many things in our lives that only we can vouch for. I can wake up from a dream and feel completely at peace, knowing that God answered my prayers. But there's no one who can verify it. I can walk into an interview and know, absolutely know that I've got the job, but there's no explanation for it. On a random day, I can remember my deceased grandmother and somehow feel that she's still connected to me. No one else experienced that but me. So much of life is lived within oneself, in one's beliefs, thoughts, and emotions, in the space where other people cannot see. If we base our reality only on those things that other people can validate, then we will mistakenly believe that everything that happens within us is just a delusion. A tree that falls unseen in the forest still fell. Reality is what you believe it is.